The topic of this lecture is called Meeting Design Masters. In the first story, we met a lamp, the designer of which is Henningsen. In the second story, we met a city and met Gaudi from Barcelona. The third design master to be introduced is the famous German industrial designer Colani. I actually met him, and I actually went to some of his speeches and benefited from them. In August 2009, he traveled to Qingdao to participate in some of the lectures and events at that time. I was down there listening to him, and at that time the organizers gave him half an hour, because the old man was very busy. They let him speak for only half an hour, and he ended up speaking for an hour and a half. He was 81 years old at the time. I found that as architects and as designers, they all have one thing in common. They are very energetic, and their design careers are very long. The first design master we spoke about earlier was Wright at Oak Park. The American architect Wright lived to be 90 years old and completed thousands of works in his life, including 1,000 works which were completed in his last 10 years. That is, after 80 years old. So we can see that a very important secret for architects and designers to stay young forever is that they can always connect the creative passion of inspiration with their lives. The same is true for Colani. Colani sat at the podium, but he didn't just sit honestly. When I listened to his lecture, I was very impressed with it. He sat down at the podium and then fiddled with the microphones and some other gadgets around him. He was full of curiosity. I think this nature is very essential for a designer. Colani left us with a lot of very wonderful remarks. He once said, "What I did is to imitate all the realities revealed to us by nature." This sentence seems to have been heard somewhere else, and Gaudi seems to have done the same. We can see that many architects and designers have many similarities. Just as Gaudi in Barcelona completed many masterpieces by imitating the natural world, Colani abstracted, refined, and reflected his understanding of nature in industrial design works. Colani also said, "It is my desire to combine art and technology. This is why I became an industrial designer." That is to say, the reason why he became an industrial designer is to make art and technology better combined. I think this is also related to the environment and academic background of Colani. Colani was born in Berlin, Germany in 1928 and studied sculpture in his early years. He had been studying sculpture in Berlin, and later he went to Paris to change his major. What did he learn? He went to study aerodynamics. It seems to us that this jump is very large, the span is very large, but it is such an experience that made him able to engage in various research. In 1953, he went to California, where he was mainly responsible for the research of some new material. During this period, he became interested in bionics. It was such an experience that made his designs have such a very strong sense of sculpture, while also having some aerodynamic characteristics. We usually say that this makes him jump out of the circle of functionalism that was very popular at the time. What was the most popular in Germany at the time? It was rationalism. It was functionalism. That function determines the form. It is according to functions to strictly make corresponding shapes. But Colani was not like this. Colani wanted to spice up the design by taking a more liberal approach to styling. Therefore, he designed a series of large-scale exaggerated works. He is called a design geek because he is different from some ordinary design master. In the 1950s, he designed sports cars and motorboats for many companies. Including in 1959, he designed a BMW sports car called BMW 700, which is also the world's first monolithic sports car. In the 1960s, he switched to furniture design and achieved great success. Since then, he has designed a large number of means of transportation, daily necessities, and household appliances, etc., covering a wide range. This is a vehicle designed by Colani, and you'll see that this design is full of futuristic and sci-fi senses, as if it's a scene from a sci-fi movie. In his design, he pursues more a sense of speed, and more a sense of science fiction, which makes his design look like a living organism. This is a flying machine he designed, and we seem to have the feeling of seeing a big shark in the sea. He refined the form of the shark to create a very bold design that looks beyond our understanding of a vehicle. He has also designed a large number of such furniture, and his seating designs are also filled with a variety of very odd shapes. His use of materials reached a peak, and he specialized in this field in California. So he was able to use some of the new materials that were very popular at the time very well. In 1983, Colani designed a camera for Canon. In this camera, he ingeniously designed a handheld device on the right side of the lens, according to the shape of the human hand. This device in the following decades greatly influenced the shape of other cameras. Today you will find that SLR cameras still use some of these elements. Therefore, this camera also won many awards that year, helping him to build a huge international reputation. The biggest advantage of this camera is that it uses some principles of ergonomics to study such a movement of holding a camera, combining the shape of the human hand with the shape of the product, making people feel connected with the camera and integrated with the camera. The picture shown below is a piano designed by Colani for a piano manufacturer in Germany. You'll find that the piano can be like that too. What we understand seems to be that the person has a seat, and then there is a flat square piano for playing. The seat and the piano are completely separate, but Colani broke this traditional model, making the piano seem like a coat, and put the seat in the middle of the piano, allowing the two to be linked. When you sit and play this piano, it is as if the piano were holding you in its arms. You will receive that warm feeling in your heart. This makes the role of the piano shift. The traditional piano is a cold instrument, but this one seems to have feelings. It has some of its specific forms, and through an embracing action, it has a very organic connection with the player, making the player seem to experience a state of human-machine integration. Every work by Colani seems to be as lively as an organic living body. In his large body of work, one can see the existence of many round, curved forms. Colani said, "My world is round." Why? Because nature is all round, and the earth is round, and the human embryo is round. All sorts of things are round. We can see that there are all sorts of round things in life. So why would I want to make a world angular? So he said, I pursue the philosophy of Galileo, and I think the world is round. What is Galileo's philosophy? We say it is a philosophy that the Earth moves periodically along a circular orbit. For the design approach, Colani summed it up even more simply. Some young people often asked him, "Master, how exactly do you design?" He said, "Once I get the project, I will go and observe nature as much as I can. I will find out what nature itself thinks. And I often find that nature has lots of ideas, and it doesn't have a single answer. By observing nature, I found these ideas, then took them out, and finally chose the most suitable and best answer from them." Back in 2004, Colani, in Germany, designed a very interesting project. It is a small house. The area of this house is very small, covering a square 6 meters long and 6 meters wide. Such a small house might only be the size of a living room or a dining room in a family home today. But within such a 36 square meter area, Colani designed separate bedrooms, a dining room, and a bathroom, making this room versatile. Below, I want to show you this structural drawing of its interior. The whole room is a square, but the largest area is a round bed, still round, and this bed occupies the most important part of the room, and next to it, a part circled out in an arc, is the position of its bathroom. And then there is a separate sofa and the 2 chairs that can be used to rest by the bed. So in a room like this, even though the space is very compact, he hopes that through such a design, more information can be conveyed and people can use as many available resources as possible to better integrate with the natural world. Colani, during his 50-year career, has designed more than 20,000 unique works, making him a very prolific industrial designer. He has also had a lot of description of his design. He said, "I never use a computer for my design, because the computer is nothing." What did he use? He said, "I used my brain's medulla to design." He didn't use a chip from a computer, because that's a one-dimensional thing. He believed that things designed in ancient times without computers were more flexible than modern ones. For example, the bronze wine glasses designed by ancient Chinese designers gave him a lot of inspiration. He said, "Modern designers may have forgotten how their ancestors were so creative without computers. So our designers should make better use of the brain rather than computers to do their work." This also gives some inspiration to our present young designers. In addition, he also warned Chinese designers that Chinese designers should properly apply ancestral things, such as some techniques of folk handicrafts to modern design. He thought that China's industrial design should have more and better development. Colani also had a penchant for China. In his 80s, he traveled between China and Germany, and in China, he even opened his own studio. He hoped to use some of his own practice to teach young Chinese designers how to work. We often find that designers are inherently sensitive. They are good at taking advantage of everything in nature. They use their brains more to create a new world. I think a designer is a pure person who is able to have a higher taste and also to create a more wonderful life.